start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will review and approve our meeting agenda this evening. Are there any additions, movements, anything that you want to change?
Yeah.
Okay. The only one that I know of is we did not have an opportunity in open session or in work session to review all the input from the open board position. And we felt that we needed to do that in a work session. So we're going to postpone that for this session right now. And we're going to go into work session following this meeting and have that discussion, and then we will reopen in open session following that. So if anybody wants to stay until following our open session after this meeting, you're welcome to, but we just felt that we needed to review all the input from the individuals that submitted their letters of interest, and we appreciate that. So that's the only one that I think we're going to do.
So you're recommending that we
Postpone that.
postpone 9.4 until after the work session following tonight's board meeting?
Yes. Okay. Approval of the minutes, our work session minutes from October 27th and our regular session minutes from the
Mr.
same.
Chair, you're going to have somebody make a motion on that agenda change.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You moved, right?
Mm-hmm.
I second.
So the motion's been made and seconded to remove the 9.4 from the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Well, postpone. Postpone.
For tonight.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, our minutes.
There was the soccer field, 1027 notes, 12.3. I think there was a motion. Pay the bills. We just need to put on there that it was passed unanimously. Okay. Well,
And that was in regular session.
it was passed unanimously.
It was 12.3.
Okay.
That's all I have. I move we approve the meeting minutes as presented,
Correct.
with the correction of adding the vote to the soccer field 12.3.
Is that both sets of minutes? Work session and regular session?
Yes.
So the motion's been made to approve the work session and regular session meeting minutes from October 27th with correction. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Right, motion carries. Correspondence.
None, Mr. Chair.
Public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes.
Yeah, I feel that we have a real bad communication between the Senate and the faculty, with parents, with teachers, and I think we need to work on that. I think there's a conflict. We need to work on the scheduling a little better. This 7th and 8th grade rotation. They call it electives, but it's not elective. Mandatory taking choir, that should be elective. What do you have first? Go ahead. ahead and say. Well, you guys want to know.
Sure, yeah.
I guess my main concern is the 7th and 8th graders are taking 2 math classes and 2 science classes in that rotation, because there's 8 classes that they have to take. Is the math class that they're taking gonna help them? Is it gonna help them with their test scores, or is it going to be detrimental? Some kids, I feel like that would be very confusing to have this second math class. And I'm wondering if anybody's talked to the 6th grade teachers to find out what would be beneficial in that time period. Maybe they need a study period with the math teacher. And it seems like the change in this has not been made clear to parents. I talked to a lot of parents that they got a letter that said their kids were taking electives, they thought it was an elective, they don't even know that this rotation is going on. So that's where the communication seems to be problematic. And it just seems like there's a lot of confusion about the scheduling. If it's just a rotation, why aren't we have 4 classes for 2nd period, we have 4 classes for 7th period, why aren't we go to class A, then we go to class B, C, so we know our schedule for the whole year, instead of every 9 weeks, it's a big turmoil, and then people are changing.
In the wrong classes that shouldn't be there, and
It just seems like it might be possible to make it easier for everybody, for the teachers, for the counseling office, for everybody, so it's not such a difficult thing every 9 weeks. And I guess I still haven't understood why we're having to take that extra math and the extra science. If it's a budget problem, if it's a faculty problem, if we don't have the classrooms. We talked to another school that they have 6 classes in their rotation and they do a trimester instead of every 9 weeks. So there's some other options that maybe we need to look at as to why that might work better. And if there's other people that are doing it and they're doing it successfully, why aren't we trying to emulate them instead of reinvent the wheel? I guess that's the main thing. Like right now, our son's in the 2nd math class with 7th and 8th graders, which I feel like is not conducive to his learning. He's an 8th grader, and I feel like it's very difficult for the teacher. That's about what I have on that.
So,
Appreciate that.
so I just want to make sure I capture what I heard. So, communication amongst administration and teachers and students and parents. There's a little bit of breakdown in terms of why things are happening and the way they're happening.
Yes.
Question about the 2 math classes, and the 2 science classes, and then the choice of electives, the lack of choices, and then the lack of being able to select, okay? Those were main topics that I heard. Was there anything else that?
It just seems like the teachers feel like they can't talk to administration. Is the kind of gist that we're hearing. And it seems like we should be talking, especially in issues like this, we should be talking to the teachers to find out what's the best for our kids. They know, do they need another math class, or do they need a study period to work on the math that they're already having trouble with? Instead of a whole other math class. Or maybe they need another science class, I don't know, but are we asking the people that are with our kids every day?
And then the other question that I heard was, what are some other models that other
Yeah.
schools are using that could possibly work for
Yeah.
us? The other models that you had looked at, do you know what schools those are at, so you could maybe
Kevin,
investigate what they're
Commercial
doing?
Point does a trimester, they do a rotation, and they have band or choir, year-long elective. The 8th graders, they can choose,
7th graders do rotation, the 8th graders get to pick electives.
yeah. And there's a lot of, you're doing a little bit of everything. I mean, it's just not one set schedule. Culver does the 9-week rotation, but there's no core classes. It's all PE, health, art, computer, band elective. That's if they're passing their reading and math, then they can take an elective. If not, then they're stuck back and getting those grades up. So, you know, Bonanza, they do a lot of semester electives. North Lake, they do semester. So there's not really one set schedule. I'm not saying that theirs is better than ours. I think that we need to look at it a little closer and better communication. And
None of the other schools that we talked about have 2 math classes,
Yeah.
2 science classes. Those aren't in the rotation. If they're not passing band and they have to have a study skills, then they have study skills to work on whatever class they're not passing. And they're not telling their kids, they're telling their kids right from the beginning, it's a rotation. You're gonna go through all these classes.
All right. And I apologize, and during the public comment, I know that you should probably introduce yourself up front, just so we can get the minutes right. So I know it's Mr. and Mrs. Sturgill, but
yeah.
I want to thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Public comment is a great tool if we get people to come and comment. So, we certainly appreciate you taking the time.
And it's never enjoyable to come and speak in front of a group, so we appreciate the fact that, you know, you stepped out and did that. And you know, I think the things that you've listed, we've heard similar comments, and so getting them documented in a board meeting is very much appreciated. So thank you for coming and doing that. Any other public comment? Yes, Russ. Any?
I just want to say I really support the board and their curiousness to find out what's really going on in our district right now. I really appreciate that, and I hope you can affect change. I've talked to a lot of parents myself, and I know some of them have said the reason they don't come is because they don't believe you can affect change from the board. And they've seen it over and over. They've seen it at the administrative level. They kind of get nowhere. They get frustrated and they say, I'm going home. I'm not going to deal with it. I don't see any change. So I hope you guys really and truly look into what's going on in our district and take it to heart, because our kids' education isn't an A, B, or C. It's a pass or fail. And I think, you know, you're all elected, and, you know, please take that seriously. And I support you in doing that. You know, our teachers are our greatest resource, and me personally, I believe that they are well underutilized. There could be a lot better things happening, but they're just underutilized. So please look and look hard. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ. Appreciate that. Any other comment? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the next session, or the next item, which is early items.
None, Mr. Chair.
Reports. We have the KCC Lake County update.
Yeah, perfect timing. I was sweating a little bit there.
We should actually move that down and make her sweat.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, now.
Postpone that.
Had to proctor an exam, so. Well, I'm glad to be here. Do I need to stand? What do I?
Let me kind of introduce some things, if you
Okay.
wouldn't mind, and then I'll
Alright.
kind of turn it over to you to review
Sounds good.
some of the things that you're dealing with. What I have in your board packet is kind of a smorgasbord of items all kind of attached to the Innovation and Learning Center. And just want to bring the board up to date on what is going on. If you look at the table that shows the enrollment, I'll have Christy talk more specifically to that here in just a couple of minutes. Also, in regards to the Innovation and Learning Center. I'll be working with Christie in the next month or so to officially formulate our ILC governance committee. And that structure is also included in your packet, and it was approved 3/10/14. And we had talked about this quite a bit last year, and I just wanted to make sure I put it in front of the board one more time. This is an advisory committee only for the board of directors in terms of the Innovation and Learning Center. Also, I'll have Christie review the winter schedule here in just a second. Also, we have Jim Walls here tonight from Lake County Resource Initiative. And he has a staff member that's devoting about 50% of her time to exploring different aspects of the Innovation Learning Center. One of the ones that she's working on right now is whether it be advantageous or not to attach a 501c designation to the Innovation Learning Center for possible grant funding. It's important to keep in mind that for very little investment that the district has made in the Innovation Learning Center, we currently have a $500,000 grant from the state of Oregon for a capital improvements grant. We also used $21,000 from Perkins to improve our welding equipment, because we're looking at offering certified welding. Also, we have 3 other pending grant funds that are pending. One is a USDA Rural Development Technology grant, about $194,000. That is more of a countywide grant to increase the number of synchronous classrooms, the high-speed video conferencing, and Christy will talk about the significance of the second classroom here in just a second. Also, there's a $190,000 Ford Family Foundation for completion of the 3rd floor conference center, as well as the figure that you have in your memo is erroneous. Jim said it was $300,000.
$300,000
For Meyer Memorial. And again, these are all pending grants. And so before we turn it over to Christy, I'm going to ask Jim to make a few comments on the grants and where he's at with this process. So.
Okay. Well, thanks. I'll start out by saying, you know, the $500,000 from the governor's office was scheduled to be here in May 2015. The good news is it may be here quicker, it is even in February. And remember, we borrowed from that to do the second synchronized classroom. So that is an O back to KCC out of those funds. And then so that the work can get done on completing ILC, I asked the governor's office, could we front the money for engineering also? And I got, well, we did that before, we should be able to do that again. And I said I would appreciate that in an email, just not a verbal, because make sure the interpretation of it. So they are looking at that. And I also suggested they're into the contracting of the $500,000. And I suggested that they contract directly with the school district on those dollars. And so they're looking if the program meets statute and all the things you have to do in the contract. And so that's all in the process. Ford Family asked for...
Excuse me for a second. Before we move on, as soon as we have more definition on that $500,000, we'll be bringing a lot more information to the board for oversight, approval, all those sorts of things. So stay tuned. We're still working on the initial stages.
You know, that includes the elevator, everything. So the engineering needs to get done up front of summer vacation. We don't want it to have lag behind and have to be doing, you know, the engineering when the students are back in class next fall. So that's why we're trying to get that ahead of the schedule. And I think that will come through, but I'll email that as soon as I get that. Ford Family, they have a community center proposal. They said, we want to furnish the upper floor and ask for a full proposal, and that's the $190,000 that we put in for that. In the Meyer Memorial Trust, that's we put in a pre-proposal for $300,000, and they've now asked for a full proposal. And that's due this Friday, and I'm 99% through doing that. So that should be available. That'll also match the KCC's $190 from USDA to put the other synchronized classes into Paisley and North Lake, including the high school and the hospital. So we'll have those classes there. That should increase enrollment, income, just do a lot of things. And through the same solution team, we think we found well, I know we have a solution. We could get the equipment for Paisley and North Lake, but the bandwidth wasn't there to operate the equipment. That's been solved now, again, through the Oregon Solution Project in the governor's office. So That looks like that's going ahead, and that should be there, so that's falling into place. I think when done, we will have enough money for the elevator to complete upstairs, down restrooms that are needed, down stairs renovation and stuff, you know? So hopefully, you can never promise who you put in, but being asked to submit final proposals are always a good sign. You know, you're one step there, so we're kind of hopeful on that. So I'll answer any questions on that. And then we got a list, if they don't, that we can go to later too. So it's not like we've exhausted everything.
When do we hear from Meyer and Ford family?
Ford family's a February notification.
Okay.
Meyer, I don't know. I don't know when they're gonna make their decision, because they'll surely, for that, they're gonna make a site visit in that.
Right.
So, yeah, so they'll schedule a site visit and do all that. And so I don't know what their schedule is to take it to the board right now.
Are you talking about an actual elevator or the elevator chair that's existing?
It's actual elevator.
Okay.
If you have a convention or a small gathering, because the hope is that they'll be used for cultural arts, with the certified kitchens in that budget, so that people can use it. To transfer people one at a time wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So there is so we have an estimate for a full elevator to go to the second floor. So,
Second floor only? You're not to the basement?
not, well, I'll leave that to the engineers. We don't have anything to remodel the basement in the budget. But I think you gotta have a shaft, I think.
You gotta have a pit.
Yeah, so that's, yeah, I'll leave that to the
I'm
engineers. I
just
don't-
curious.
Yeah, I don't know
If it
that.
was the existing or new.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thanks.
Good news.
So what I'd like for now is to Christie to talk about what's going on at the ILC, including the huge increase in enrollment, how we're serving not only community members, but also K through 12 students, as well as what's coming up in the winter schedule. So,
Well,
Christie.
Thank you, Sean. We're registering for winter term right now. That started on the 10th of November. And currently we have 53 students that are enrolled at KCC. I just filed a petition to graduate for our first 2 graduates who are ready to graduate, and both of them are applying hopefully to the nursing program that once we get the approval on that for the RN program, which is very exciting. We have 11 high school students that are taking classes with us. I just proctored an anatomy lab exam, of which one was one of our ADP students, the other was a high school student. They both got A's on I'm proud to say, they both got A's on the exam. So they're doing very well. I think that the program and the classes that we are able to offer are really a great accessory to our high school students that are looking to move on and move further. A couple of students that are probably going to graduate with an AA at the same time that they graduate high school. Yes, it's pretty incredible. So it's phenomenal what's happening at KCC and with our students. So you can see the numbers. This fall we had 276 credits that were offered in a synchronous classroom, and that's because we have a second synchronous classroom. We are only limited by the time, the number of hours, and the 2 classrooms that I have, and I have them capped. I have 20 classes I'm offering this winter term. And I build those classes based on our students and the student needs. So I'm the advisor for all the students that come through. That allows me to keep track of where students are. It allows me to schedule different classes. I put that curriculum into KCC and work with the Dean of Instruction to formulate a schedule that works and try and fill every hour that I can for those classrooms. So we're well on our way to registration, and the numbers look like they will be equally as good, if not better. I've had 3 new students walk through the door. We're working on our community ed programs. We have a new community education director, Rachel Spoon, and they're working with us in the college advisory board, trying to put together community education courses that would be desired in our community. We need to get a better way of advertising, and I saw that we had a couple of classes that fell through And I think that we need to work on our advertising to get the word out. People are not used to, at least I think, not used to looking at the mailer that comes with the community education courses. They've always been in Klamath, they've never pertained to Lakeview. Well, Lakeview's on the front page now, so when you get those flyers, open them up and look and see what classes are available. And if you've got, something that you would like to see, then I'm more than open. I'd love to get an email or just give me a phone call. And I'm speaking to the audience here. Love to get a phone call. If there's classes that you'd like to teach or something you'd like to see, please contact me so that I can help facilitate those things taking place.
In fact, one of the new classes that's just coming up is a GED and an ESL class, and you're currently looking for instructors to teach those courses.
KCC is currently looking for an instructor to teach, yes, in the evenings. I have the job description if anyone is interested. They are looking to do a GED prep and an ESL course here, so that's something new that's on the horizon as well. I am going to go down to Alturas. Alturas is putting in a synchronous classroom for their high school students. And so the principal and their counselor have already been up to see our operation, and they are implementing the same program because they see the value in it for their students as well, being able to offer a wide variety of classes, for a very minimal cost. So I'm going down probably the end of December to teach them how to use the equipment and what the process is like. So there's another area that we're growing in. It's working very well. This method, even though we have some snags occasionally when the internet goes down, that does cause for some trials and tribulation, but for the most part, that hasn't been too big of a hurdle to get over, and everybody's pretty patient. The instructors over at KCC know that technology can be an issue, and they're willing to work with our students. KCC is just waiting for Hunter Communications to put a new internet connection to the building so that we will have our own source of internet so that we are not tied to the district, and that should facilitate hopefully another classroom because we need more bandwidth in order for that to take place, and some of the software that I need to have from the college to help facilitate registrations and advising and all the other aspects. So that's where we are. It's growing, it's working, it is exciting to file petitions to graduate for our first 2 students. And we have a third that just has 2 more classes to take, and he's a vet. So this will be his first degree that he will have finished. And it inspires the other students. And the opportunity for the students to come together and really start to feel like they have a college atmosphere is taking place as well. We are going to use part of the library and create a little student union spot for students to go and study and talk, because right now I have a computer lab with 5 computers in an office right next door, and they want to talk and they want to spend time and they need a place to be able to do that. That's not in the office. So that's growing. It's working really well, and I am more than pleasantly surprised at the number of credits that we are signed up for. It's a total of 467 credits, I think, this term, which is, in the fall we had, I think, a total of 250 or 60 credits. So, yeah.
I'd just like to say KCC and Christie is what makes fundraising for this delightful and successful. Because other things are tough, but this one, it's just that success that we're getting that really impresses funders. So.
One thing that we've heard tonight, and we have a struggle coming up with enough electives. And I think one unique thing about the community colleges is they have a lot of introductory tech type classes that some of the young kids could at least start to get some teasers and learn about what does this mean if I want to go into this field. How can we foster that relationship to help some of our issues with our high school, and not just our high school, even down into our junior high, you know, with 7th through 12th. Align some of the classes during the day that we could offer, and whether they take it for a college credit or not, it's the exposure and getting them to learn about some of the opportunities out there. I mean, I think that would really help the district, but it would also help KCC as they grow into a program.
Could that be the community service kind of connection?
Sure, absolutely. That would free up a lot of the red tape and the criteria by which a credit course is given. So those kinds of things just need to be brought to my attention so I can bring it to, you know, to KCC and say, look, this is what our community needs. They are more than open and receptive to any of the classes or opportunities that we're trying to present for our community. They love Lakeview. I have to brag on Lakeview a little bit. I've had 3 professors contact me and say, I wish I had a classroom full of Lakeview students over here at KCC. They're there, they're engaged, they're on time, they're doing great in their classes. If I could have a whole classroom of Lakeview students, I would be a happy camper. Not just from 1, but 3 professors have said that to me. So, you know, KCC is working on trying to develop in their community in Klamath the kind of attitude that we have here in Lakeview, and that is we, you know, our whole embracing of education and how important it is and how important it is for our students. They want to mimic us because we're doing such a good job and because it's going so well. So, you know, anything that we can do, the college advisory board meetings are usually the second Tuesday of the month at noon. They're at the north end of the building here. Everyone is welcome. Please, if there's something that we can do, I can do, I'm here to help. I'm here to build this and keep it going and make it something sustainable and truly beneficial to everybody in the community.
I appreciate that. I think, you know, the community engagement piece would be something that I think we should investigate more. I think the more opportunity that we can provide in classes that we can get our high school and junior high kids into,
Sure.
the better it is for everybody. It gives us more opportunities.
In fact, just so you know, I've been invited to a roundtable discussion tomorrow night at KCC to talk about just this. There's going to be not only KCC and Lake County represented there, but all the other districts that KCC serves in Southern Oregon. And we're going to be talking about things just like that. You know, scheduling, and how can we, you know, fully develop our community service. There's a lot of different tentacles that KCC is interested in exploring. And so I appreciate the comments, because I'll definitely emphasize that tomorrow.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
Great job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We understand.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
So the building reports?
Yes, we have both principals here. If they want to highlight anything at this time, or if the board has any questions.
Mr. Cahill, any idea? Oh, it says right here, no idea yet for our playground. How much? We don't know yet.
Let me say. We need to discuss it first.
Okay. I'm glad I asked.
We don't mind it. We're very preliminary in discussion.
You see,
I would change mine, change the date on that fall banquet date for FFA.
oh yeah, I was gonna ask what time
If we move to December, Tuesday, December 16th.
Yeah.
16. 6:30.
6.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
soccer field budget update.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just very quickly, we did send a letter of thank you to Collins McDonald for the $20,000 donation. So again, we certainly appreciate their support as well as Lakeview Rotary's support. Darrell, I'm not sure if there's anything beyond that you have an update on the budget piece or on the soccer field.
We did tie down a cost for sod, that'll be ready next, early June. And we have about $5,000 left in our budget. That was about left there, maybe not quite.
It's actually 5137.45 to be exact. When I was reviewing some of the banking information the last couple of weeks, there was a donation that I overlooked that is for the soccer field. That was in the amount of $500 that was donated to the school. It was through LCCF, and so we'll get a thank you letter out to them also. So it was back in August they donated those funds.
So the Rotary Club did pledge their next year's earnings to cover the stock costs, so we should be set for that next spring.
All right. Upcoming fundraisers.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Mr. Hamilton to present on some fundraisers that are coming up.
There's been a few come in. The process I have for fundraisers is a form. It goes to ASB to get their blessing to make sure there's no conflicts, and then I sign off on it, and then I'm sending them over, in the final, send them over to Sean, so we're all on the same page with those. Coming up, baseball is selling candles, their holiday candles that they've done in the past. Let's see, what else? We have a instrument drive, a community-wide instrument drive for some band instruments that's going on.
Does she want all instruments or just anything?
Preferably,
Traditional band?
not in need of great repair.
Did she get yeah, the xylophone fixed?
She's
Or
in the
she's still-
stand fixed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that'll work.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Now, when is the band?
It's ongoing right now.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah,
It's going,
started during the conferences, and I think they're gonna run it.
then, girls' basketball just submitted one today they're gonna do a free throw pledge. They're gonna do for their team. And then, there's oranges. The softball team traditionally has done the oranges. And somebody contacted the school about delivering phone books, and I believe the basketball team is gonna be doing that. They're not really selling anything, they're just gonna be delivering phone books. And so yeah, there's some going, and I anticipate there'll be some more coming. Those are the only ones I've seen that are actively going right now, or in the future.
Need a motion to approve fundraisers or just?
No, just report.
Okay. Old business?
Yes, Mr. Chair, last meeting you saw the promise of Oregon resolution. And the board did not take any action on that. We weren't sure if they wanted to or not. If you have a chance to read through the promise of Oregon and the resolution and what it says. And we just need some guidance on what you'd like to do.
Any thoughts?
I thought we were favorable.
Yeah, I thought we were favorable, but we tabled it just so we had an opportunity to look at it a little closer. So if
Okay.
there wasn't anything that anyone found that was things in our previous decision.
So we're gonna use this, canned resolution, so to speak. the one that's.
That's what they're recommending, yes.
There's nothing in I move we approve and submit, do we have to submit this?
Yes.
Approve and submit the rest, the OSBA resolution as presented for the promise.
Promise of work.
Thank you.
Do we have a number or anything on it?
No, it just has a blank number.
We will number it the next
one.
resolution of succession. That one's where we're at.
Yeah.
So the motion has been made and seconded to approve the OSBA resolution as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carried. So we will move on to new business, and probably under new business, I forgot when we had the open agenda, we needed to add that we were gonna make the motion to give up the listening sessions.
So that's right.
And so we can do that under 9.5?
Yeah.
Okay, so new business, policy updates, first reading.
Yes, Mr. Chair, all I did was just include the summary that OSBA provides without the policies, just kind of get your thought process going, and they have some good explanations there in terms of upcoming updates to policies. It ranges anywhere from bidding requirements and procurements to safety, data sheets, to student transportation, wellness, nutrition, electronic communications, transfers, also prescription and non-prescription medications, complaint procedures, and public charter school. I know we do not have a public charter school within our school district boundaries right now, but it's still good to keep those policies updated in case there is ever a request to do so. So other than that, I'll just kind of let you read the summary. We'll just take it as a first reading for now. And then the second reading, we'll actually go through the policies a little more in depth. We'll try and schedule that for a work session so we have a little more time to go through it. And then the board can choose to do what they want to.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
9.2, district goals.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we've had these hanging around for a while in terms of looking at adopting our district goal statement, value statement, which hasn't changed. But then the focus areas of teacher and building administrator evaluation tools, facilities analysis and levy, and strategic improvement plan. And so again, the board can take action on that. You can table it for further discussion. Whatever you'd like to do there. I've also included for a second time just a sample of a strategic plan. Also, it's important to note that OSBA does have a specific training on creating strategic plans. And they're a great way to engage community, engage staff, administration, and interested parties, students, in the discussion about what is the strategic plan for the district, where are we heading, what do things look like, what about facilities, what about electives, what about band, choir, and rotations. You can address all those things in the strategic plan.
We usually have a work session for this, right?
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet.
Talked about it a lot.
So do we table it until we can have
Okay.
a work session and?
Yep.
So we have to have a plan to have a strategic improvement plan? Is that what?
No. What this says is that we will develop a strategic improvement plan. And we only have district goals, we have an electronic continuous improvement plan that's similar, but it's still different than a strategic improvement plan. And that's why I provided that example. It happens to come from Salem School District in Salem, New Hampshire. But there's a ton of them out there on the internet, all shapes, sizes, flavors. And, you know, like this particular one, it addresses planning committees, mission statements, strategic goals, overview, strategy to improve and maintain facilities, and that's something we discussed a lot. This one talks about fostering community support and engagement through effective communication and partnership. Student-centered educational opportunities for the 21st century learner. Technology. We do have a separate district technology plan, but sometimes to incorporate that within one document that you can point everybody towards creates some great dialogue and also gives you opportunities to have input. So again, that's just an example that I've included there.
I've read through it too. Very ambitious.
It is very ambitious, and I would say, you know, we would take 1 year to develop kind of a skeletal strategic improvement plan, and then probably the second year, we really put a lot of in-depth information in there, and as well as hold lots of communication discussions with staff, community members, parents, interested constituents. I think those are really good. And it can actually be incorporated in your listening sessions too.
One, could it be, there was something we talked about, including the administrators in the work session. But maybe that was on teacher evaluation, I don't remember what that was. Something where I said we need input of the principals.
Yeah. Well, this would be a perfect format for things of that nature.
So maybe our work session would be advertised as this specific, and then we could have anybody, lots of people come to that. Planning session of district goals.
So do you guys not have current district goals that you guys have set? Is that what you're talking about right now? Is you're setting a meeting to make?
For the next year, yeah,
Goal?
yeah. We have goals every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So the,
I saw it on there as district goals. I was just wondering what they were.
Yeah, we set district goals every year. Every year we've been fairly specific, and this is a chance to kind of be a little more global, because we've had a lot of discussions about a large laundry list of different topics.
Yeah.
And a strategic plan could incorporate all of those topics. Because there's a lot of things that, you know, that I think we all feel that we're kind of at the juncture with, whether it's programming for students or electives or budget or facilities or, you know, you name it. All of that can be incorporated into that.
I think input is, I mean, that's the only way you come up with it for
Mhm.
our community.
Mhm.
So we'll make sure that's
Great.
on our next work session,
Bet.
right?
You bet.
OSBA have some trainings on this?
Yes, they do. On the strategic improvement plan, they do.
That would probably be one thing that.
You have a handout in your work session packet that shows all the different trainings, and one of them is on strategic improvement plans. But I could contact OSBA and get a little more in-depth information if you'd like.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So would they come train us before we did the work session? Or could we all look together?
You know, I think they would come and probably provide some outlines, some examples, some things that they've probably observed with other school districts that have worked for them and worked for other school districts. And I think it'd be worthwhile training if this is the direction the board would like to go.
And then we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a key document.
Okay.
Well, I think the general consensus is that's where we want to go, and I think that's where we need to go, so
Okay.
let's see if we can get that scheduled.
Okay, let me get some more information and come up with some scheduling options.
Okay.
And then I can bring that to the next board.
All right, thank you. So the asbestos LEA presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chair, let me find it here in my packet. With the retirement of Mr. Getty, who was our asbestos coordinator for the district, we have to appoint a new one. We just sent John Roberts to that training. And so we are recommending, and Janet, you can help me out with this if you like, that Mr. Roberts is our appointed designated person for the asbestos management program. Anything you want to add to that?
No, he just got back from Portland, it's been about 3 days. And completed all the required hours, et cetera. And so now we feel that he is able to be that designated person. I'm sure that without since Mr. Getty's been gone, so.
Typically falls to the business manager.
Yeah, I don't think you want me on that asbestos.
And official title is designated person?
Yeah. I confirmed with Mr. Kenny. That's what he says.
It is.
Well, then I move that we approve John Roberts as our designated person for asbestos management.
I'll second that.
With our thanks.
I would like to add that the asbestos in our buildings is pretty well under control. Mike Daly did a good job over the past 7 years of,
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So the motion's been made and seconded to approve John Roberts as our designated person for the asbestos management.
Management.
Well, he's our designated person.
He's the
Yes.
designated person, you
Yeah.
don't really need anything else.
There you go.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Bring him a big congratulations card.
He'll be thrilled.
Yes, you will.
So 9.4, we are moving until after our work session, and 9.5 we added, which is to make a motion so we can officially conduct our listening sessions. So
Okay, so I move that we
Set ground rules.
set ground rules for our listening sessions, that topics to be discussed include policies, procedures, and goals, to exclude conversations regarding personnel. And then our other ground rule is that board members that are there cannot discuss their findings with each other until we have our next open board regular session. Did I get it right? Okay.
So that then they can become public documents.
So everything that we gather in those listening sessions is not discussed until an open school board meeting. That's my motion.
so that's the motion.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
Why do you need to have ground rules for a listening session?
Go ahead.
Okay, so there really is kind of some options here, nicely presented by our counsel, Jeff Hudlin, explained to us that you can have a formal open meeting, which is the way one would typically consider a session, right? Open, public can discuss, right? All right. A more informal setting has to have some ground rules set up so that we don't step outside of the meeting rules, the open meeting rules. And so we're trying to have this informal, and so we're setting up some ground rules so that we can proceed in an informal fashion, maybe get some candor from the people to come and talk to us, because and also kind of avoid this whole personnel issue, because then again, we have to go through a different procedure, right?
But that makes it much less candid, and now you've changed it from being informal to very formal, because now
Well,
they're.
no, it's so, if you're thinking that you want to have a suggestion on how to do things better, if you think that you have, discussion of the stresses of this, for example, the whole discussion of where we are in this curriculum development with Engage New York, how's it going, how's it not going, what support does the school board really need to give you here, suggestions to us, that would be the kind of thing we'd like, it's kind of like we're the suggestion box then. That's essentially what we've become, a suggestion box. And each of us takes note on the suggestions you have, or you tell us that you don't feel that communication is working, right? That just like we got this evening, right? this is why communication isn't working, and outline it for us, you know, so that we can say, hey, it's not, you know, and we're listening. We're not sitting here and espousing what our position is on how much I want CET, you know? If you guys like CET, you know, hands-on education, you have to tell us if, you know, if you're thinking that's working, or if it's not working. Essentially, like, you know, we listened to you and we tried to understand what you told us, so that we could then come back to the, and a public forum, he says, well, we got a lot of concerns about this, and so this is something we need to put on the agenda. That's really what we're trying to do. But we want to avoid personnel, because then, of course, we have to have an actual school board kind of session, right? With recording secretary, with all that other stuff. So, does that make sense to you?
Sure.
No.
Not really, because I disagree. I think that putting limits on what can be discussed changes it from being candid. It changes it from what people really want to say. And so you have said, we want to hear what you have to say, but only on certain topics, only on topics that
What you
we
said
want
was,
to
that's
hear.
the kind of thing we'd like to hear.
Yeah, not
that's what you
necessarily
said.
what we want you to hear.
No.
So you're really tying our hands as far as what we can put in the suggestion box. You are limiting what
Okay.
we can do.
If we weren't present in the room and you put it in the suggestion box, we could read or listen to anything you said. But when we're, as a board, these are the Department of Justice rules on open meetings. So by having the motion to explain how the meetings will proceed is simply protecting us to be able to continue to do it. If we don't do that, we're subject to sanction. Am I correct? And then we can't do anything.
So I thought the big deal was the number of school board members present at these listening. So if you have less than the required number that would make it a official school board meeting,
Right.
then why do the same rules apply?
They don't. The way it works is you guys can have informational sessions like that, and this meeting is not open, the listening session is not open to the public. But the school board members are not allowed to collaborate on their findings. If they collaborate on their findings, that's a subcommittee that's been set up, and that is the quorum. Even though they're not making a decision, that then forces a quorum, and that becomes a public meeting. So you're not going to get the candor that you're trying to get out there. And there is also public complaint procedures. Anything that's a staff-related issue, there are contractual obligations with administration, represented staff, etc. And if something gets brought up about a particular staff member, that is a liability issue. Plus, it's a violation of a worker's rights. So that's why they're being set up the way, that's I think why the school board's trying to do what they're doing.
I understand that you're trying to avoid any legal issues. I understand that. But I just, I'm wondering if there's not a better way to have the staff of the district be able to talk to its board members. Right now, you know, we are being told we have to go through certain channels to be able to do that. If we want to talk, if we have questions, concerns about a certain personnel issue, good or bad, we have to go through certain channels to do so. And that bothers me, that I can't call one of you up and say, hey, this is what I feel like's going on. I don't know if it's right or not. This is what I've heard. And have a conversation about it. That to me is very candid, very open. But not being able to do that, no, you have to set up an appointment and it will go through so-and-so to have that happen. That bothers me. That you, my bosses, elected officials, that I can't just come talk to you. And we can't. We are told there's a process, there's a procedure, and if we don't follow that, then we are talked to as not having followed that process. So I'm wondering if there's not a better way to have a listening session, whether it's individually, because honestly, if we can't have a listening session where we can come to and give you our honest thoughts about anything that's going on in the district, Really, what is the point? If we can't give you that information because your hands are tied and therefore our hands are tied, then what is the point?
Nothing won't move forward. When I mention personnel, I'm referring, at least I'm hoping, I'm referring to individual people. And you wouldn't come to me about an individual coworker of yours in your building. Or if you started to, I would have to say, stop. I can't do that as a board member. That's not my role on this board to mitigate individual personnel issues. There's a process for that. I mean,
What
you
is the
as
process
the
then?
union person know that.
What is the process?
Okay,
There are complaint procedures that are set by the board. In fact, there's 2 of them that is public information that you can look up anytime. Also, there's stipulations in collective bargaining agreements that have to be followed in regards to complaints.
that's the main one that comes up is your union requirements. Have it listed as a grievance procedure, am I correct?
But what if we don't have an official grievance? We just want to talk to you about a situation. And this business about public record, again, we are told there is a process that we have to go through in order to get things that are public record. We were told at one of the listening sessions we would get information that is public record. I don't know about other staff, but I certainly haven't seen it yet. And it is public record, and that should have been on our desks weeks ago. And so, again, I think communication is the real issue. I understand that you have to follow certain regulations, and that we do as well, and that for some things there is a process. But for other things, there is too much of this, you have to follow a process, and therefore it's just a catch-22. If you just are chasing your tail and nothing ever gets done. That's the problem that we are seeing. People want to share their ideas. People want to be heard. And I'm getting the impression that you would like to hear us. But we're just chasing our tails right now. And nothing is being done. Right now, I think people would be much more interested in some action being taken rather than just hearing people talk. Because people have been talking and no action is being taken. And so I think that's where people are starting to be frustrated. You say that you want to listen to us, and now we have rules and regulations that we have to follow in order to be heard. And then we want to talk about a certain topic. Nope, there's a process for that. Again, we're right back in the wheel. I'm just chasing my tail. And nothing's being done.
Well, I think we're trying to follow the recommendations of Mr. Hedlund on the public meeting law. And there is some issues with that. But if you think there's a better process we can do than what we've had, I guess I'm having a hard time seeing them back there. So maybe we, what do you suggest?
Yeah, we're in an open session. This is, we can hear anything right now because we're all legal.
So you could stop by the schools anytime, am I correct? That would be one way. If you maybe I think of something, I send you an email. I don't have your email. I have to go through someone and then they will send you that information. I don't want to do that. I want to call you, I want to send you an email. I don't have access to that information. And so I guess I feel like there's, a great barrier between me being able to even just contact you. If I happen to run into one of you on the street, sure, I'll talk your ear off. But what if I don't? How do I get a hold of you? Again, I don't want to go through somebody else. I want to email you, call you directly. And on the one hand, I'm certainly not giving out my cell number, just, posting it in the newspaper. Hey, anybody who needs to talk to Mrs. Mize, give me a call. I really do want to avoid that. And so, but if you're on the school board, it seems to be you kind of have opened yourself up. I have to be available to hear people. And in years past, I have felt that there's a big block to that. And so I just want to be able to talk to you. And I don't know that I can.
So if we comply with what we have to do in order to keep moving forward with our listening sessions, because this board has a very strong desire to continue that. We've gotten support from the community and from others to keep doing it. Can we start there?
Absolutely.
Then you come to that listening session and I give you my phone number, or it's at least a starting point. And that's what we need. Because I can't know that you need to talk to me until you've just told me that. You know, and like you say, we run into each other at the track meet or whatever, you know, kids are running, or you gotta go do your timing, or class is starting. So I know that those are not ideal situations, but this was our first step. This was our first attempt. So
the listening sessions were, excuse me, like Stephanie said, the first attempt to try to engage and break down that barrier that I think we both see is there. And so we jumped into that with kind of the open talking forum. I think in my mind it was a no-brainer, you know, we just listen, and then we were informed that there's a process. And so once we've kind of unpeeled that onion to find out what the process is, we like Desi said, we have two options. We can make it an open public meeting, which means we advertise it, everybody shows up, we have somebody taking notes, it's this, you know, press is here. Well, we already do that, and that's not what we want, because that's an intimidating environment. We wanted an open forum. So the other one was, if we try to continue with the format that we initiated, we had to set up a little bit of structure. And that's why the structure that we're implementing tonight is, we're trying to keep it as minimal as possible, has to at least be official, so then we can move forward with two board members showing up and engaging. And I hope, and I think we all hope, that this is the first step of a new process, and that it will start with some communication. And yes, I apologize that, you know, at listening sessions Daryl and I were at, we kind of were ahead of the curve and saying, well, this is what's going to happen, and then we kind of got pushed back and said, okay, no, here's how it has to operate, so we're backing up. But we're trying to honor that to the best that we can, that we said we would. But as we move through that, then I hope that it opens up new opportunities and new avenues. One of the listening sessions we were at, one of the teachers indicated, you know, years ago, a board member was assigned to a certain number of teachers, and they were, you know, kind of requested to make periodic visits. Well, that's obviously something that we should implement again. And so as we get re-engaged, those are the opportunities that we need to hear, so we can say, yeah, this will work. Oh, hey, if you need my cell phone number, here you go. I mean, how can we become, you know, accessible? I mean, how can you get a hold of us? Not, oh, there goes Pete down the hall, and I know he's going to see his kid, but let me grab him and pull him into my room. Well, but that's, I understand that. If that's the opportunity, that's what has to happen, and I accept that. But we want, that makes an uncomfortable situation for staff and for the board members. So if we can create that communication, that's where we're at. And so I don't want you to think that what we're doing here is us saying, oh, well, we want to reinvent the wheel. What our desire is to be engaged and available. But because we're a board, because we're an elected group, we're bound by certain policies that we have to work under. And it sucks, but it's the way it is. So,
it's my understanding, based on what we heard from Mr. Hedlund, that it really, how it's gone, the only thing we can't talk about, the board members can't talk or discuss amongst themselves what we hear until we're in an open session, so that We don't come to conclusions. It's the sunshine law. It has to all be out and open. So our process to come to a conclusion of what we might want to work on has to be out in the open. So it really isn't changing anything that happened at that, other than putting that on record that we acknowledge that responsibility on our part. That doesn't really change anything that you can come to the meeting and share with us.
But the other piece that I think is important is, as we just discussed, moving into our strategic plan and our district goals, we need to engage with administrators and staff to get that feedback. And so you may be telling us stuff, and like you said, we want to see some action. Well, we would love to be able to come back and say, all right, we're going to do this, 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 and this. But we have to prioritize and hear those things. And as we get that information, part of our opportunities as we engage in this strategic planning and district goal setting that we've heard, and we can say, here's what I'm hearing. We need more electives. We need more of this. We need some of that. This is really working well. But we need that input, and that's what I'm hoping we're going to gain by having these sessions and hearing. Yes?
So you're saying you're not putting any limitations on what you can hear. You want to hear anything that they want to bring to you. But there may be some things that you can't discuss with personnel.
No, there's some limitations on the specific personnel issues.
But if they want to bring
But we
an
can say
issue
it, but
to
we
you,
want, right, to you.
I mean, maybe Mr. Headland can comment on this, but, I mean, I think it would be appropriate for you not to discuss that. But to hear a complaint about anything or input about anything, is there any restriction on that in the listening session?
The main restriction would be on personnel issues, or if it is a specific problem, like if it turns into something more like, okay, I've got a particular problem with a particular kid or something along those lines, things where it gets into, student privacy right issues, specific people a lot of times, or what kind of is the definition for that, because kids have privacy rights, things of that nature. There are procedures you have to follow with that. The board also has to be careful. If it's something that the board's going to have to make a decision on a specific issue, sometimes they'll have to table that and then let it go through the process, because the board is like the Supreme Court for school district issues. So there's certain things, like let's say it's a complaint about, let's just take a random, there is a teacher that has a particular problem with a student or vice versa. That goes through a process, and the teacher has the right to go through that process. And then, direct supervisor, the next level, and then the school board's the ultimate. And if the school board does the investigation at the ground level, the school board, that member then cannot make the decision because they investigated it. So those are a few of the limitations, but otherwise, no. The general stuff that, like you're talking about, the general concerns, curriculum concerns, and all that are acceptable. But there's certain issues like personnel, some of those other specific issues by state law and by board policy have to be followed through that chain of command.
I think we need to keep moving ahead for now. And if it doesn't work, we'll do something else.
So we'll keep moving forward.
Just wanted to ask one question. Is it just, a need for you guys and staff to get a more one-on-one sense of what's going on? Because you said if you make it public, are you allowing parents to attend this, or are you thinking about doing meetings with staff and then meetings with parents or something to get more of an intimate setting? I wasn't quite clear on.
So right now, the process that we've implemented is with staff and administration, building administration. And then, once we've had an opportunity to kind of go through that process, and only 2 board members can meet at a time, but after Daryl and I have met at the high school and at the grade school, we would like Stephanie and Desi to go through that process and have everybody be able to engage. Then we are looking at, how can then we engage parents and the community, because we want to hear beyond just the staff. We want to hear what's working, what could we do better. I mean, that's what's important. And so, as we move forward, that's a process that we want to keep expanding if it's going to work.
Because I think you nailed it, this is an intimidating setting for anyone to come to, and if you have parents, and I respect these guys for coming and sharing, it would be valuable. That's fine.
Unfortunately, any parent meeting like that is gonna have to be in a similar setting to this, unfortunately. It's one thing,
Do
I don't think so. I don't think so. Unfortunately, the sunshine law doesn't, and that's a colloquial term for all the Oregon Public Meetings laws. So unfortunately, that would be, the other option the district could do is a survey or something along those lines, and then present those survey results if you wanted something more, and that would be another way that some districts have done things of that nature. It just, like I said, it's tough. I mean, the law puts us under some very strict requirements, so kind of handcuffs us a little bit.
But Jeff, that doesn't mean that parents can't directly call school board members if they choose to.
Absolutely not, but if
Okay,
it's a
I
general,
think
if it's a general,
You see lots of heads
exactly.
shaking and being looking
Yeah.
strange.
No, it's specifically if it's a forum type
A forum,
situation,
yeah.
then we're back in this scenario like
Okay,
this.
that clarifies that.
Ruthann, you got anything more?
Not yet.
Okay, so I hope you wrote down that motion.
I forgot. No, I couldn't do that.
So the motion was made, was it seconded?
It wasn't, I don't believe it was second.
No.
I'll second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded.
You want to ask for some discussion?
We had.
We had discussion, but is there any more discussion? Still we have discussion.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody who had any questions about it that's here. I mean, I'm delighted you're here, so. No, really, I mean, this is how you move forward, so. Anything?
So the motion's been made and seconded. Do you want to read back the motion just so we can?
Stephanie made the motion that the board continues with the board listening sessions and will set ground rules. Topics for discussion will be policies, procedures, and goals, and will exclude staff and personnel issues. The individual board members will not discuss information they gather and will present the information in open session.
So maybe I'd like to amend that. It is not limited to just policies, procedures, and goals. Our ground rules we can preclude personnel, correct? Exclude personnel.
And I would say specific people like students or things of that nature, things where you'd have to go through those formal complaint procedures.
But anything else that wanted to come up. So we really don't, I don't have to say policies, procedures, and goals. I can just say topics must exclude personnel and students.
Specific.
What specifically do you mean when you say it must exclude personnel? I can't have someone come into the listening session and start talking to me about you.
Okay.
Specifically.
What are you talking about here, though?
You know,
I
It's
don't
not the
think,
public meeting, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So as far as Lonnie is supposed to have an open door policy,
And at that point, we'd have to shut you down and say, we
it's
can't go any
stretched to
further.
one person then.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
because they're under the union and there's those, which is protective of our staff. If you can, have we done a good job of explaining that? Does that make sense, Susan?
Yes.
And so if you do have a question about a specific personnel issue, you have to go to your immediate administrator, and then they would advise you, but what if you, for instance, had an issue with your administrator? Then there's the whole process that you follow. Yes?
There is a policy.
Yeah, the complaint procedure talks, that addresses just that, so I'm glad you brought that question up. The complaint procedure basically says in a nutshell, if say you have an issue with a coach, that you would go to the coach who's immediate supervisor, let's just use Mr. Hamilton as an example since he's the athletic director, then Mr. Hamilton would say, well, have you met with the coach yet? And, you know, if the answer is yes, then Mr. Hamilton could move that process forward in whatever fashion, or he can help facilitate a meeting with the coach. And so, because that coach has a right to also lend input and say, oh, that's not right, here's what I was trying to do, or, oh, you know what, you're right, let me fix this, you know, those sorts of conversations. And so, yeah, if your issue, your complaint is in regarding to one of the building principals, then you come see me. If your complaint is in regards to me, you go see Pete, who is the board chair. And all that is outlined in the complaint procedures. And so I would, please visit the website. It's really easy to search for it. There's a search tool on policies. Just type in complaints. And you'll see 2 policies with administrative rules that pop up, and it talks about the whole process. And if you have questions on that, give me a call, give Mr. Schrader a call, give any building administrators a call. We'll be more than happy to walk you through it.
We still have a motion on the floor.
Ish. Okay, well, I revised it. I know. Well, then I asked for discussion. Can I revise my motion? Because I'd just like to say what we don't talk about, or can't. So I'd like to amend my motion.
Go ahead.
Just say, so I move that we continue with our listening sessions with 2 board members present, so that we don't have a quorum. 2 board members may not discuss what is brought up at these listening sessions until we are back into an open board meeting, regular board meeting. Discussion cannot, or individuals, personnel, or students are excluded from being discussed in those listening sessions.
I would just say individuals are, period. That way it covers parents, students,
Okay.
etc.
Individuals are excluded from being discussed. I just pictured that thing. But do we have the general gist? Does that, mostly that's for your protection. I don't want to be in a situation where someone starts talking about individuals there. That's not the purpose of those sessions.
Did you want ground rules included in that?
Well, the ground rules would just be that we don't speak about individuals.
So just for the record, would you mind reading it back so
I know,
it's
I'm
very
bad.
clear?
You could rewrite it. Jeff on it, actually.
So Stephanie made a motion that the board continues with the board listening sessions with 2 board members present, and that the 2 board members may not discuss any information until the open board meeting session. Individuals are excluded from being discussed at these meetings.
Is that kind of the gist of it? Is that good?
Jeff shaking his head up and down, not back and
I
forth.
think we need to move ahead. I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, so that motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries, so we will get our listening session back on schedule. Thank you for the input
Yes.
and the discussion.
Very much.
Appreciate it. Moving on to volunteer coaching recommendations.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yeah, I have a few volunteer coach recs. For girls basketball, I'd like to recommend Susie Stewart. For boys basketball, Travis Nichols. And for wrestling, Shannon Ludwig and Mike Lisney. Did you get my email earlier?
You're in late items.
Okay. So yeah, those are my recommendations.
Okay.
I move we approve your coaching recommendations as outlined by Mr. Hamilton.
I second.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve the coaching recommendations as outlined on this slide. Mr. Hamilton, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Motion carries. We'll move into.
Here, here's
Consent agenda.
None, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Announcements,
None for my chair.
late items. Our financial report.
No.
So I'm gonna be kind of quick here. Skip page 78 and 79, Alana misunderstood me, so none of that information on 78 and 79 is current or correct. But the backside on 80 will give you more of a year-to-date picture. Just a few quick items. Our E-rate that we get through BSD, I've currently gotten Century has come through. It's been to the tune of about $5,100. And just last week I received the Verizon Wireless also, and it was about $2,000. So those have been coming in. Again, it's tax season, everybody's happy to pay their taxes. We've started getting the current roll, we'll get those weekly here probably till the end of December, and then they'll come once a month again. There's really not anything exciting other than the fact that we're starting to stabilize out on our expenses. We're not such a big rush like we were at the beginning of the year in August and September, so things are starting to level out. Remind you just our insurance and that looks quite out of whack, but it's not just because we prepay it. It's used as an expense item rather than a prepay, means that we're on cash basis only there. There's been a couple of things that I've been working on. One is just to kind of give you an idea, getting members on payroll, running it through one bank. Currently we're running it through two banks. Makes it kind of difficult at month end to reconcile that. Just makes it that more challenging. So I'm looking into that right now also to narrow down payroll and their payroll liabilities only to one bank and utilize another bank for accounts payable. That'll make life a little bit easier at the end of the month. So those are a couple of things that I've been working on outside of other stuff.
So the financial report, disregard the one with the color.
Yes.
And go to the third one.
Yeah, go to page 80.
Okay, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah. I think when I sent it over to Alana this morning, I think this was attached in there somewhere. So, and I apologize. I don't have your ADM reports up and running. I apologize. That will be a goal of mine for next time. So I'm hoping things mellow out and become more routine. We're pretty much in line though, as far as our budget is concerned. And keep in mind, this is just the general fund.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to approve that?
It's just a report.
Informational.
Just a report.
Thank you, Janet. Volunteer coaching recommendations.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I have one more. Kinsey Seaton, I want to recommend Kinsey Seaton as a volunteer assistant for girls basketball this year.
Okay. So a motion to accept the,
I move we approve the recommendation of Kinsey Seaton, volunteer assistant coach. Girls basketball.
I second.
motion's been made and seconded to approve Kinsey Seaton as the girls basketball volunteer coach. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Paraprofessional recommendation.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn over to Will for a comment here in just a second, but I want to assure the board that we've taken a long time to look at this scenario. We've had a shift in our special ed student population, and we've had to shift some personnel from the elementary to the secondary level to make sure that things are being followed in terms of IEPs. In the meantime, it's kind of left elementary void of some RTI services, which is all designed to prevent students from having to get into the special ed realm. And it's designed to meet their needs on a more immediate basis. And so we bring this to you not just at a whim. We've taken a long look at this. Mr. Cahill has done quite the analysis on this. And so I'm going to turn it over to him for comment.
Well, we're in year 4 on this RTI implementation, and what we've discovered is that it's working. All these reading interventions we're doing and everything else are really saving us from identifying students for special education. Right now, our special education numbers are, I think, the lowest they've been since I've been in elementary schools. But, you know, this year, and the high school needs the help, you know, the special needs, to fulfill IEPs and everything, we had to shift FTE up to the high school, or for the high school to address that, which, you know, was needed. However, on our end, it took quite a bit of FTE out of our RTI program as far as another person providing those student interventions, you know, in our identification process through Easy CBM. And I've been discussing this ongoing every week with Mrs. Gallagher, Mrs. Harry, who are the heart and soul of the RTI program. And their big fear is if we don't somehow backfill what we've rated out of RTI and make it whole again, we are facing, you know, identifying more students back in special education again. So that's our dilemma, that's our issue. And, you know, my goal was not to, you know, tax the district budget and bring more FTE back in the district without really having thought it out very well first. And my discussions with those two ladies, looking at our student population, looking at the potential for students falling through the cracks, to me, this is a very essential position to, you know, place at Fremont Day. So, that's it. Questions?
The approximate, I'm sorry.
I was just thinking we were down this position anyway. Didn't we,
Well,
or kind of?
we have had some high needs special ed kids, a couple of them in the last couple of years. We basically shifted individuals to go one-on-one with special high needs kids. And, you know, doing one individual to one or two children, you know, we're 24 or 25 that we're
I've lost that
losing
person.
out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that's been our issue, is just in that regard. You know, so.
Well, it's kind of it's always in flux depending on what students we have. This isn't a set,
Right.
Exactly.
you need what you need.
But Mrs. Gallagher and Mrs. Gary just, you know, did a fantastic job with that program. It's, you know, it's made a big difference too, with what it's done, so.
You can see the approximate cost as estimated by Mrs. Melnis at the bottom there, the range. So you know.
Okay.
I think it's only a small need, but it's going to be, definitely needs. Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation for one FTE. And this is what, the RTI?
Yeah, paraprofessional.
Paraprofessional position.
I second.
So the motion's been made and seconded to accept the recommendation of the RTI paraprofessional position. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, our next board meeting agenda items.
I heard in the work session to replace the district goals. Also, second reading of policy update. Is there anything else that I missed?
This is for our next regular sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, we will adjourn.
One thing I'd like to add, I'd like to thank all of our candidates for being here tonight, and please be a little patient with the board. The many things the board does, appointing another board member is the hardest thing we do. It would be easier for us to get rid of one of our own board members. You know, we know everyone, so, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
We'll,
Thank you all for coming.
And our full intention was during the work session, we asked all the candidates that are interested to answer some OSBA questions. And so we felt because our work session went longer, we didn't have an opportunity to review those the way we had hoped. We want to take the time and review those, and then we will open again after our work session in a regular session and make a decision. But we're sorry that we didn't get to it during this regular session, but like Daryl said, we want to value the input that we're getting and the time that you put into answering those questions so we can make a good decision. But it makes it tougher when everybody who has expressed interest is very high qualified. I mean, we appreciate the fact that, I mean, this chair does not pay very much, but it's a very important job, and we appreciate your willingness to serve in that capacity. So with that, we will adjourn and open in 5 minutes in the work session.
Jesse, I missed the last 2 meetings of being recommended.
Was it outside?
So we'll get headed tonight.
That is the
So this is the date
You'll know when I do. You can stick around? Yeah. It's open to the public, yeah.
It's okay. Maybe just look like you can
I'm sure Nicole Harris is the one in charge of the musical instruments.
Slowing down finally.
For baseball. I still want to talk to her directly. Baseball's doing handles, so Red Cross, I'm sure, contact there. Unless there's a parent that's in charge of that.
I mean, that's a
No, but people are.
Girls basketball free throw pledge, Lady Harris, I assume.
But today's the first.
Yeah, right. I want to make the announcement out there.
Oh, well, so many things I hear just secondhand or just in passing. It's like, oh, well, it'd be kind of nice to know about that for an article.
Well, as a frequency.
And then softball team doing oranges, I have no idea what that means. Jackie Robinson.
Are they still doing that Jim Copeland? That's who they were doing it through. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, Kurt, but it used to be through Jim Copeland. He had a kind of very, I think, Mandarin Orange orchard. I know I went every year. Great.
I didn't feel like I was very long.
Okay.
So let me send out some information, because I don't also have time on it.
Right, exactly.
I don't
You can't do that. You gotta go individually.
I don't know if it's like that paper that would go through.
January, I don't know.
Well, holiday candles, I assume enough for Martin Luther King Day, so I'll do something for the next couple weeks. Yeah, so I got a group photo of the ski team, and an article, and, yeah, so
That we're able to cover, but anytime there's any kind of fundraiser. The dodgeball one, I hadn't heard a word about it, the only reason why I knew was.
Yeah.
Right. So we just barely got it, put a little thing in, but it was the last minute, we wouldn't have had a thing in if I had it there. And I never did.
You can stay for this work session.
Charging the flock.
Yeah, you're on my. See, that wasn't too bad.
The bird flock, yeah, whoever's in charge of it.
Lonnie, you wouldn't happen to know the parents of the senior class that's coordinating most of their fundraising stuff, like their flocking and stuff like that?
Hey, that's a nice bet. I didn't come out of that.
Thank you. Does it get low?
Yeah.
Dust.
In the layout for this
Whoa.
paper about it.
I don't know.
There's cracks, and it's largely based
On
on.
the radio and.
The last year's thing.
Thanks, Jeff.
With the little information we had saying here's what's going on. In previous years, they've done this, but I was never.
Don't feel bad. It gets, it's really irritating. Trying to yell at them. They are really stuck.
They're not usually.
When they did it back in April or May, contact us
Every organization.
Harvest.
And they haven't seen one, and I tell you,
And that turns out
We had space to fill with the paper, so I had to get something out the door.
It's a good West, how you get away from the process. Something you guys may have to make a decision on, or, like I said, it's not fair, it's a real decision, make more sections stories.
No, next year it'll probably. Oh, and I did not.
I
know, good question. I'll start doing some research.
Kurt, I don't see how you type so fast on that thing. You are just.
Years of playing video games. A child of the 80s, grew up in your Nintendo generation. It's just something to pick up over time. I can't shoot a gun for the life of me, but everyone says I have the fastest fingers in the West.
Yeah. Well, you put it into good use.
I brought that up a little bit, so that kids are feeling what? You know that. And then like, after teachers are taking lectures, I would love to.
Right. They don't.
I do both, I do board rules and I do.
Well,
That way too.
that's the thing that, that's so small.
Amazing how some of those things are
Reset. Be related.
Told me. Right now they kept them in a mount, or they did.
Yeah, they enjoyed that.
Northeast part of the United States. No, it's just, it's from, that's why people use it.
Bury them down so we can get that.
Who said at the meeting?
Yeah.
Have fun. See you guys later.
I want to get over there.
Exactly. I'm very see you guys later.
All right, why don't we go ahead and, call our work session to order. So, do we want to stick to the full agenda, or do we want to kind of pare it down?
I would recommend, if the board is okay with this, that you just start with the applicants for the open board position. And then after you've had a chance to discuss an open session, that you come out of work session and nominate and approve your applicant, if that's the motion the board wants to make tonight. The other things we can talk about later, either staying and discussing, or we can postpone those items till the next time we meet. It's really up to you how you'd like to handle that.
All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and start with our board applicant discussion. So like I indicated, we re-advertised just to kind of get a bigger candidate pool, and we did. We flew the position again and picked up another 4 applicants. So, I mean, 6 applicants is, for a vacant board position is pretty phenomenal. We've kind of been begging people for the last few times, and so we really appreciate everybody who has submitted a letter of interest. And like Daryl said, you know, and the quality of applicants, I mean, it's a very tough decision, because I think anybody would serve very well in this capacity.
Can I add something, Annie? I didn't feel like we had any sort of good process in place when we first started. So the idea of, I think we were gonna have lunch or something with you and Kurt, and then so that when we found out that OSBA had the questions and a little more structured process, that also played into our decision to reopen, because then, I mean, you know, you didn't know you were gonna speak at that last meeting. You did beautifully, but that wasn't really, you know, it would have been good if both of you knew what we were gonna do and how to do it, and so that's the other thing that I just want you to know, that since.
I'm here again.
Yeah. Yes, so we appreciate that very much.
And I'm impressed that after the board meeting, you guys did so thank you for coming back. So, as I indicated, we really have received your questions back. I think we've all reviewed those, but we haven't had an opportunity to discuss or dialogue. And with you here, then we can kind of interact. And so I think that's where we're at right now, is just kind of go through the process so we can get a better handle on who you are and who would fit in this chair the best. So, is there any discussions at this point that you want to start? I know, Desi, you, before we started open meeting, you didn't have an opportunity to talk, but you said you...
Yeah, I was a little overwhelmed by your qualifications and your interest and prior experience. We've got 2 prior experienced people, right? A dozen years, wasn't it?
Yes.
And a previous board role, and you've come back through several processes being on the budget committee here, right? And then we had wonderful new business skills there, so you could really critique our gal over here closely. Or at least understand, you know, well, right? It wouldn't be like a learning curve, you know. And so that was good. And so I said, well, geez, how do I flip a coin? I guess that's what I'm thinking here myself. But I will defer to the senior member over here, Daryl, to give us a little feel on maybe some detail points and some broad views, same time that you might want to give.
Well, I want to make sure I have them all. I have Russ, Corey, Kurt, Charlie, and Dustin. Is that all the applicants?
And
Annie.
Annie.
And
Yeah, that's why I asked you.
Kirk and Russ didn't return those questions, so I don't know if that wasn't really, oh. Did we have to have those?
Well, we like them.
Okay. Okay, so
Further,
there's
it
still,
gives us more insight.
Yeah.
Give six.
Six.
Yeah.
So we'll show six. Well, I think everyone's qualified. It's a hard decision for me. Some board experience is good. Especially with some things we're dealing with now. But,
That's good.
that is. And this is for, when does this term expire?
2017.
June.
Okay, and there's some, two of the positions are up in this next year, right?
From the website.
Yeah.
I think you're right, yes.
Okay, two positions.
are you up?
Yeah.
Well, I did all my heavy campaigning and made it through for 4 more years, I think last year, so.
Is it you? Nancy's and Daryl's. The rest are 2017.
Yeah. So Desi and Darrell expires 6/30/2015, and then
This one goes through seven.
this one goes for 6/30/2017.
So how many have kids in school?
I do, I'm a sixth grader.
Dustin does.
I have a kinder, so I'm in it for the long haul.
A sixth grader might be under the long haul.
I think I'm gonna be in for a long haul with the sixth grader.
You could count all my DHS kids, so I have a lot of school.
Unfortunately.
Yes, yes.
So, do you guys have any questions you want to ask the board?
I think tonight was a good eye-opener. I've heard that there were these open sessions and that there's some grumblings here and there, but you always hear grumblings that are out and about because, everybody's got an issue that is near and dear to them, which is maybe not the same issue that someone else has. Just from the little bit of actually being in this open forum meeting, does make me think that there may be some underlying issues that I might be a little naive to in my fantasy world out there. But I guess the other side of that is, I've been involved in a lot of things within business, not specifically on a school board, a hospital budget committee. There's not a lot of controversy there with the hospital budget committee, but, within the business environment, and what I do day in and day out with different borrowers, it's not something that I shy away from just in my job. And in particular, you've got to make tough decisions and kind of take a broad spectrum, not only of financial situations, but of, somebody's business plan and how they're going to execute that. Interesting, you bring up strategic planning. A lot of times when you have a new business, that's something that you put together. Obviously, school board is a little bit different, but, some things are going to be very similar. It's still a business. It's a business of educating our children. It's a business of being a good partner within the community. And if you're going to run a good, efficient business and do those things, you also have to have employees and staff that are fulfilled in what they're doing. So, I think there's a lot of things that you can kind of cross over and compare in that regard.
A little bit of everything.
Any other questions or concerns from the group after our meeting tonight? Things that you heard that you might want to clarify? I think, like Daryl said, like all processes, you go through your ups and downs, and I think over the last year, there's been a little bit more discontent with in the district in terms of, you know, the Common Core and morale, and I think, you know, I picked up on a couple folks mentioned that in their question responses, which to me triggers the fact that there's a level of engagement that okay, I kind of have my finger on the pulse of what's going on. So that, to me, perked up my ears because, yeah, we're kind of in one of those transitional processes where, you know, some hard decisions and some hard meetings like we're having with the listening sessions need to occur because we need to get that confidence back amongst the staff. And so, you know, it's going to take some rolling up our sleeves and, you know, working together, working as a team, but that doesn't mean that we're all like-minded. I mean, we have our own thoughts, and that's what makes a board a board, and so we appreciate that. So I also look at those opportunities. It's tough because, like I said, as we look through people who are interested, I can see those qualities in everybody. I think what stands out to me a little bit more is some of the level of experience. And like Desi said, we have a couple individuals that have had some board experience in the past, budget committee experience, have been kind of part of the process. And so right now to fill this seat, that there wouldn't be so much of a learning curve. When I signed on to the board, we were in, you know, it was before the budget situation, and it was a big learning curve, but I could kind of coast for a while. There's not as big of an opportunity to coast right now. We need to, like I said, roll up our sleeves and kind of get to work and get things really moving in a positive direction really quick. And so I guess I kind of look at the two individuals that have some board experiences as kind of rising to the top.
That's your favorite team. Okay. Well,
A motion to what?
not a motion, he just gave his point.
Okay. That's the general consensus. That was respectful advice.
Yeah.
You'll have to go to open session.
Right.
Yeah.
Guys have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I haven't been able to address the board yet, so thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, that's true. You were just waiting, weren't you?
Right. You know, some fear of being something thrown at from back of the room. I view, from what I heard tonight, as an exciting time ahead. Yeah, it is time to roll up the sleeves, but it's exciting in that this position's got essentially 2 years in that seat, and hopefully in 2 years, wherever the district goes, whether it's with the strategic plan or re-engaging with the staff and the community and the parents, there should be a foundation at least established within that 2-year time frame to help move it forward into the future, whether that position remains there or not after that. And so I think it's exciting in that, you know, it is cyclical. We're at the bottom of the dip. It's time for us to rebuild. You know, there's a lot of opportunity to engage with people and identify a path forward that works better than maybe is what's working right now. So I view it as exciting, but also a lot of hard work. Like I mentioned, I did sit on a board, a couple of years elected to a board in Fossil, Oregon, small community. Unfortunately, the job I moved and had to relinquish that seat. That board opportunity, it was a learning experience. Not sure I'd do everything the same as what I did there, but a couple things that we worked through is we actually hired a new superintendent, and that was quite a process in and of itself, as you've probably been through. And then also our school became a charter district as well. Not to say that is a solution here, I'm just saying that was a lot of decisions had to be made, and tough decisions in regards to that. for that district. Also, I have, as I think I put in there, 3 children, one in grade school, one in middle school, and one also in high school. And sit on the budget committee and understand kind of where the finances and how that works. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the interest. And I know you expressed some interest earlier and have been assigned to the budget committee, and so we appreciate your level of interest and your engagement in the process. I think that kind of shows also that you have a desire to be a part of the process as we move forward.
And I guess I would like to say, when I first had signed up to be on the school board, it was when the sin and the can came in, which are gone away now.
With different things.
Yeah, different things now, so it's an ever-changing world. I'll say it. Yeah. And my thought was I needed to be involved because I needed to know what was going on, because it's our children, it's our future. When I was on school board those 12 years, there was a drop in student population of 500 students.
Now, when was that?
It would have been, I don't have the exact, probably like 93 to 12 years later.
Okay.
Right in that area.
In the 90s.
But there was a drop of 500 students. So we went through huge budget cuts. We went through a time when Union School was building their gym, when Union had to merge with Lakeview District number 7, which was a tough time also. But you get into those low dips, and it's rebuilding that rapport with everybody and making it unified that you have the same goals. And, I've been through that. I know what it's like, and it's not an easy job, and I know that. And I'm aware of it, but I'm also ready to put the time in, because I do know how much time it takes to make it work as a team.
I do have a concern, Charlie. We can't afford to lose another 500 students.
Well, I agree with you. I totally agree. The town of Lakeview wondered why the swimming pool was not making the money that they used to make. When you lose 500 students, they don't make the same amount of money. It was an eye-opener for them. It was like, yeah.
Would you like to speak, Annie?
I feel like I should get in there.
All right, do it.
I haven't sat on the board before, but I am as qualified, and I have the eagerness to learn. And and it shows that in the room tonight you're facing tough challenges ahead. I think that a fresh mind and an open mind and someone who hasn't experienced it before could definitely add something to a board. So.
You guys are making this really easy.
Okay. So you have
Wait a
questions. You're
second.
full of questions, aren't you?
I never have questions, Lindsay. I never have questions. I don't, the information has been fantastic. Charlie, did you ever go through any of the hiring processes while you were on the board?
Yes, they're hiring the superintendent, and it is quite a process. It's a lengthy process. We also went through the policies, every policy, and updating those policies and how, and it's important to do that, Currently, at work, we're going through and setting up protocols for everything that we do within our office. And it's important to have those things in place, so that if someone comes, they know how to step in and do something.
Right. Yeah, that's,
And that's why we have policies and procedures.
I was trying to explain that in my motion, and I didn't do a very good job at all. That would be something the new member would get to do, you'd make all those motions.
Yeah, but you were talking to someone that should be a savvy procedural.
I kind of thought that,
Yeah, so she was cat and mousing us a little bit.
Okay, so now what do we do? You guys have any other questions?
Well, we have to be ready to make a motion, so if somebody's comfortable that we've dialogued enough and have enough information that we can make a decision, then
Okay.
I can't think of anything else to ask. You guys did a great job with your information and your questions and answers.
I want to say your questions were, it was a great way of doing it. It truly was, because I think it really makes people put a lot of thought into what they are doing.
Yeah.
And why they're doing it, yeah.
I appreciate it. That's why I wanted you to know that was, we appreciated your first, it was a little, I didn't want you to think that we didn't think you were fine. I just didn't feel like we had a forum with which to discuss the candidates in a meaningful manner. So we appreciate you guys answering those questions.
well, no, obviously we have, like you said, a tough decision. We've got six individuals, and I, you know, the four of you that are here tonight are definitely, you know, tough to pick from. We can only pick one. There will be other opportunities in the future. You know.
There'll be opportunity in the spring.
Yeah, there's going to be opportunities in the spring. Yeah, and so, you know, don't think that if as you're not selected, that we don't think that you're worthy. It's just we only have one seat to fill. So, I guess if we don't have any other discussion, I guess we need to adjourn and go to regular session. Somebody will have to entertain a motion.
Are we ready?
Sure, let's go.
You ready?
Do we?
Yeah.
We don't, and we don't get to talk about this. We have to like talk in front of
Yeah, sure.
Open session.
I mean, we could step out if you guys, I mean, it's like, we put you right on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
It is?
Sorry, I forgot to shut it off during work session, but that's my mistake, my bad. I can edit that, the work session portion out.
Oh, I don't think it was great. No, it was fine. I just,
I forgot to turn it off, I got caught up
Yeah,
with talking.
so you
with others.
report good candidate pool.
yes.
I mean, really, I'm serious, if we want to step out, I mean, it seems awkward to stare at them while they have to discuss the decision. I mean, it feels awkward out here.
Oh, it doesn't feel awkward at all. Really comfortable.
If you wanted to step out for 5 minutes and then open a session.
Well, I would love to know what my fellow board members feel. It would be good to have a consensus going forward.
Well, can you guys go into executive session and have a discussion and come back out?
Unfortunately, there's no executive session that covers that.
We can step out though, right? And leave
You don't
guys
have to
in the
stay,
room.
yeah. that's
Yeah, I mean, we can
completely
leave them in the room.
It's entirely up to you. I mean,
I say we
otherwise-
vote to let them meet
Let's
for
go
5
back.
minutes.
We'll go back.
We'll
to
make it
walk. You
Yeah.
guys can hash it out. We'll come back.
I'm just surprised that you're letting Mrs. Vargas off so easy.
Yeah.
Putting you into this predicament.
I know.
That's-
I'm gonna get a shot of coffee.
That's the choice of being in a, that's the choice of living in a small community where everybody's friends, right? I mean, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah. That's.
All right. Okay, I'll give you my strongest candidates for me. Part has to be Dustin. Because he's repeated discussion, so he's that track record that way. But I'm also quite impressed with, having the fiscal skills of Mrs. Price here as well. See, so I'm a little torn on that one. But even of those two, I think I would still go with Gus's thing.
Okay.
For the same reason, he's on the budget committee, he's applied, he's shown continued interest, but his experience, although Charlie threw that,
Well, lots
that
of
was a
experience.
tough one because she's had all that
She's got a lot
time.
of experience.
But because Dustin was on the budget committee and.
Yeah, so I thought I should have the board to get two of them on.
I was in the same.
Yeah.
But, that's it, and Corey's I mean, they're all, and Annie's enthusiasm, I mean, they all bring something different, so it's this is not an easy decision at all. But that's kind of what tips my.
I guess my point between Charlie and Dustin, I mean, I know Charlie has a huge community tie. She has a high level of confidence within the community and the staff.
And she's very attentive in meetings.
Yes, and so I appreciate kind of that respect and solid, I guess, community base that she brings. She has the history. I also weigh that against Dustin. Dustin has some experience. He's also been, involved in, like he said, his longevity. He's expressed an interest.
He's stuck with it.
I mean, a guy that emails the questions back on his iPad from Belgium has to have people grant. Wow, that's like.
That's some commitment right there.
I was in Elspeth. The last thing I did is open my iPad. But, so I struggle. I think they both rise to the top for me, and it's very hard to choose between the two of them.
I guess I would lean towards Charlie with your experience. And how she operates on the board. And her involvement with human services.
Okay, so we kind of got the two leaning that way.
Well, I mean, I'm split either way. I mean, I think, I appreciate the fact that Dustin has students in all three levels. I mean, he's engaged in the grade school, he's engaged in the junior high, he's engaged in the high school. And he's kind of got that hands-on tie to what's going on. I think one thing that we've seen is that tie to the school right now
Seems to be a big.
But I agree.
I think Johnny would be a good board member. I guess I would lean towards another woman.
Oh, that would help. That's true.
No, that's funny that I didn't think of that.
All right.
So what about, I don't get any sense at all from personality-wise that there would be any, I think they're all perfectly.
I think they'd all work.
They would all
They'd
work.
all work. They would, as my way to get my little thing right, they'd be present, they'd be engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't be real team.
Okay, well.
Yeah, okay.
We have two that are kind of leaning, I mean, unless you've changed your mind, but you were kind of leaning towards Dustin.
Yeah.
I'm just torn between Dustin and Charlie, and I think,
More Charlie.
well, I think the fact that, Dustin has been expressed interest for a couple times, and kind of we kind of wanted to gauge his level of commitment and his, I think, personality and how he would work on the board. And then we asked him to join the budget committee, and he did that. And I think we're all pleased with his interaction and his ability. I mean, in my mind, it put to rest some of the concerns of, well, is he going to be a little bit too abrasive? And so, with that, I guess I appreciate the fact that he's got that level of commitment, he's got the persistence, he's really kind of shown that, hey, I'm still interested, I still want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing that tips me right there is that I've been on, I'll start wherever you give me an opportunity kind of attitude. Yeah.
Okay. This should probably be unanimous, I think.
No, it doesn't have to.
I know, but. Yeah. Well. Okay, here comes the politics, huh? gonna persuade you. I think that he's shown that interest. That's to me the different, that distinguishes him from the other candidates. Being on the budget committee, applying twice for vacancies. Not that I doubt the interest of anybody else, I think.
And I think in his, as I read his questions, he had a level, he was one that had a level of perception of some of the issues that I read. It's like, yeah. He sees that, okay, oh, he mentioned that, I see where he's, and so that, and I think he gets that from the fact that he's got his ear in 3 schools, basically, 3 grade levels.
So I'm the lone voice in the wilderness?
No, you're not.
No,
So, okay, so why don't we cast a ballot among ourselves right here, and then give it to you, and we'll see how we hand out, okay?
That's fair. That's fair enough.
That piece of paper?
It's kind of like a survivor. We get the music. I guess we could do it reverse. We could vote people
Here
off
you
and
go.
allow.
We appreciate you guys sticking this out too.
Oh, you already did?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
It is interesting, isn't it? And I was,
All right.
is this the first time you've done that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, does he? You just had a first on the board for Daryl. He's never done a secret ballot.
All right. I guess I should mix them up. I need to mix them up. All right, why don't we bring our interested folks in, we'll close our work session and open in our regular session.
You can get, thank you.
Where's Dustin's last name?
Yes, Davidson.
Did that work better?
It was all very good. You could have stayed in here. It was all very good. But yeah, it's hard to like parse about you while you're sitting there.
All right, we will close our work session and we will reopen in regular work session of District 7. So, again, kind of a discussion, dialogue. I think what we've decided is we all wrote down a name. And I will read the names and we will see if we have consensus.
Do we have a torch?
We were gonna do a reverse where we vote people out and then we'll ask them.
No
So,
point, huh?
No, we approved, again, huge thank you for all of you.
We have
Not easy.
3 votes for Dustin and another one for Charlie. So I guess the general consensus is we would appoint, I would entertain a motion to appoint Dustin this time.
I so moved. Appoint Dustin to that position, knowing, with a lot of thanks to the rest of you. It was a good discussion. It was a pleasure to have that to choose from, if that's a way to put it. You're gonna have to edit this for me because I am all over the map on that, but
It's good to have
it's good.
talent
Yes.
interested.
And a
It's
hard decision
wonderful.
rather than, so we appreciate that. I think, I guess. we
So
already
the
talked
motion's been made. Is there a second?
There's a second.
All right, so the motion's been made and seconded to appoint Dustin Gus Davidson to the vacant board position. Is there a number on that? Board position? Number 5?
Number 5.
Is there any other discussion?
Shows that we congratulate everybody for applying.
Yes.
We will. Let's finish our motion.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Our motion carries. Again, thank you. It was a tough decision.
Very hard.
And, I mean, please, don't be discouraged. Keep this as I think anybody would be worthy, and we would appreciate your input on board. So as people leave and there are other opportunities, they will arise, and please come and express your interest again.
Come and talk in public comment. Like tonight, we had a lot of public comments.
All right.
No, thank you. Huge thanks.
We will close our regular session.
Did you want to address any of the work session items? I got a good solution.
Thank you.
Why don't you guys just read those items for next time, and we can discuss them then.
Hey, all right.
Sorry.
Thank you. Lots of
Thank
good
you.
meeting.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.